All right, good morning, everyone. So this is our Monday morning outlook. And the goal here is basically to look into the market every week to find opportunities that can give us profits in the trading in the markets for this week, right? Lots of opportunities are going to present themselves for the week. We want to be able to be ahead, by looking ahead, looking to the market ahead of time, so we can see what's likely to play out today or what's playing out right now, what's likely to play out today, what's likely to play out Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, right? So that's what we'll do every Monday. Last week was full of events. We had NFP, we had FOMC, we had Joe's job openings, we had news. News was back to fundamentals were back to back, back to back last week, and we saw very massive moves in the market that happened last week, right? So now we're going to be, trading off of the back of what happened last week, but we're going to be analyzing the market just to see what opportunities present themselves. Market has already made a move. Market has already made moves last week, but now we're in this week. What are we going to do based on what happened last week, or what new market direction, new market moves are we expecting to see as a result of what played out last week, right? As usual, we'll start with the economic calendar here. The economic calendar is so important because it shows us where volatility is likely going to come from, right? Volatility is what we're looking for. It's what helps us to trade. So we want to be able to see what's going to bring extra volatility to the market during the week, so that we can capitalize on that, or we can be cautious. Because there are two ways to approach volatility, massive volatility. You either take advantage of it, or you are cautious, because it can be very profitable. It can also be damaging if you're not approaching it the right way. So let's look at what's going on with what's expected on the economic calendar this week. First of all, today we have CPI data for Switzerland, and that came in at 0.0% earlier today. Okay, that came in at 0.0% earlier today, and currently we're seeing some sort of weakness in the Swiss franc right now. So you're seeing pairs like AUD making a buy, you're seeing NZD making a buy, and all that, right? But we're seeing weakness in CHF currently because of this news that happened this morning. And for the rest of the day, we're going to be having bank holiday in Canada. So that's not supposed to be, that is not a big deal for markets today, right? So then on Tuesday, tomorrow, we have ISM services. We had ISM manufacturing for the US last week. ISM manufacturing was weak for the US last week. And then basically, this is data that tells us how strong or weak these manufacturing and services sectors are in the US. Now, whenever there's weakness in the services in these sectors, whenever there's weakness in PMI, producing managers index, that's what the meaning of PMI. Whenever there's weakness, it tells us there's weakness in the industry itself. So we have weakness. We have a small number, usually less than 50 number for manufacturing and services. It tells us that there's weakness, right? And when there's weakness, the economy is not as buoyant as we expect it to be, also as we would want it to be. That's what it's telling us. So from last week, we saw that we had about 49, a number of 49 for ISM manufacturing. So we saw that it was weak for manufacturing, right? And at the same time, we also saw last week that NFP came out very low too, and non-farm payroll numbers were very low as well. So all of those contributed to the weakness that we see in the dollar index. We're going to look at the fundamentals soon, so we can see what exactly played out there. Then for ISM services this week, we're also expecting forecast a higher number. Last month's data was 50.8. The forecast is 51.1. So the actual is what we will tell us exactly what we are hoping to see in the market. We ideally will be hoping to see stronger services PMI in the market, in which case we have a number that is either equal to 51.5 or higher than 51.5, which is going to be good for the dollar, right? If that number is weak, very likely we're going to see a continued sell-off in the dollar index, right? So that's what we're expecting to see tomorrow. Then we have an employment data for New Zealand coming in tomorrow as well. Then on Wednesday, we have a free day. Then on Thursday, we have interest rate data for the UK economy. This is something that's going to be likely very volatile as well. Interest rate data is something that we watch for a lot because it tells a whole lot about how the economy is doing, how the economy will do. You know, when the economy is not doing well, we have central banks looking to cut interest rate, reduce interest rates. When the economy is buoyant and inflation is rising, central banks look to increase interest rates. So interest rates is a major metric that we watch, in the market on a continuous basis, right? So for last month we have 4.25% for the interest rate for the UK, and the forecast for this month is 4.00%. So we're expecting a 0.25%, otherwise known as a 25 basis point reduction in interest rate there for the UK this week, right? So that's something we're going to be keeping our eyes seriously focused on. That would affect a lot of pound pairs, GBP USD, GBP JPY, GBP CHF, and so on and so forth. We're going to be seeing a lot of volatility in those pairs when this news data is released. So it's quite a significant one. Then also on Thursday, we have unemployment claims for the US. This is an employment related data from the US. Last week is a weekly data. Last week we came in at 218,000. The forecast for this week is at 221,000. So we'll keep an eye on that as well. Then on Friday, we have employment data for Canada. Last month's data was 83,100 new jobs created in the month of that was the month of June, right? That was the month of June. So the data we're expecting right now is for the month of July, right? So that was 83,100 was the number of jobs created in June. Now we're expecting the number of jobs for July to reduce drastically to 15,300, right? Of course, when the actual data is out, that's when we'll know exactly what the actual numbers are. And then also unemployment rate is expected to tick up from 6.9% last month to as much as 7% in Canada. That's quite high, right? So a whole lot's happening across markets this week, especially we'll see highly volatile data for the UK and Canada this week, right? And then also for ISM services, that's going to affect USD pairs as well, right? So a whole lot's happening this week. Not as volatile as last week, but we still expect to see some volatility in the market. So let's look at what's been happening with the with the technicals and the charts. So we start with the dollar index as usual. And the dollar index is something we watch very keenly because we want to be able to have a good idea what's moving the dollar, how the direction the dollar index is going, the dollar is going, because the dollar underlies most of the financial market, most of the transactions in the financial market, whether you're trading indices, you're trading commodities, you're trading currencies, whatever it is you're doing in the financial market, we're dealing with the US dollar, right? Almost 90% of all transactions happen with the US dollar. About 88% of transactions in financial markets are tied around the dollar, right? And then the dollar remains the reserve currency of the world at this moment, right? So we always want to look at what the dollar index is doing, what the strength we're seeing there, the weakness we might be seeing there, and then how that plays into the volatility we'll see across all other instruments, right? So we see that overall, the dollar index has had been in a very major downtrend for a long time now, since February, since Trump took over power, and then it's been dropping very heavily. But last week we've seen a few important data recently, namely the trade deal between the US and the EU came in. We had Trump and the US had a trade deal with Japan. pegging their tariff rate at 15%. When they also had a trade deal, Trump had a trade deal with the EU, pegging their tariff rate at 15%. So that buoyed the dollar a bit. People started having a bit more confidence in the dollar, and we also saw that risk asset like the S&P index rallying very heavily, primarily because of that deal, right? And also from last week, we see that we had a couple of important news came in as well. So all of those were positive to have driven the dollar up to about 100.2 level, right? And then when the NFP came out, the NFP numbers came out last week. We also had GDP for the US, so that was one of the things that also helped drive the dollar to the upside. We saw a GDP of 3.0% as against minus 0.5% the previous quarter, so the quarterly data. And then, but when NFP non-farm payroll numbers came out, we just see a serious slump in the dollar index, right? Now we see that the dollar index has hit a support here. It has hit a support here. This area also coincides with what we call a 50% on the Fibonacci levels. And so we see price hit this level right now, and we expect price to make some sort of a rally, right? It may not rally all the way to that top. This might be the beginning of a resurgence of a sell, right? The dollar index had been a serious downtrend for a long time, but recently we see that with a couple of good news we saw for about the last week, especially last week, we see that the dollar index bounced back a little to around the $100 level, and now with this serious sell-off, what are we expecting? Are we going to see price going back up again? It has hit a support here now around the 98 level. Are we going to see price bouncing up again or continuing down, right? But first, for me, I expect that price will make a push up a bit, right? We should see price bouncing to around the 99 level, the $99 level. 1 minute. So we should see price bouncing to around the $99 level. And then from there, we should see price drop off again, right? So we should see price push up, then drop off. That's the idea. That's what we're looking at right now. So we see price bump in here, and then we should see a sell-off from there again, right? So that's what we're expecting to see on the dollar index. So market is quite slow at the moment, so we'll just keep an eye on that. Like we said, we always give you updates on our Telegram group. If you're not on the Telegram group, make sure you're on the Telegram group, because we're always going to be giving you real-time trades analysis, even more analysis on the Telegram group, where we tell you exactly what trades you should be taking, what trade ideas you should be taking, and all of that, right? So make sure you keep an eye there. So let's look at what are we likely to see with the dollar, with the Euro USD. We'll just look at a couple more pairs. So we see that the Euro USD made a serious buy, pullback, a pretty good pullback. We have seen the Euro USD selling very heavily all the way from almost the 1.18 level. That's almost a psychological level there. We see price drop off to around the 1.4 level, another psychological level, and we saw that price stayed there for a bit, was ranging around that place. We saw a consolidation there for a little bit, and then price and NFP came out and price just jumped off. And the reason price jumped off is basically because we see that there was a weakness in dollar, and the dollar index and the Euro USD has this almost perfect opposite relationship with each other, right? And so we see now price has hit a support around the 50% level. This is, sorry, a resistance here. We see that price hit a resistance around this level, and this also coincides to the 50% of the Fibonacci. And so we should be expecting, my expectation is that we should see some sort of a sell-off in price here, probably a sell-off to around the 50% level, either the 50% level, very likely around the 50% level. So we should be seeing price do something like this. We should be seeing price do something like this, right? We should be seeing price hit somewhere around this level here. Yeah, so this will be our first move here. Price should be able to make a sell. Should be able to see a sell from here all the way to this level right here. And then we'll have to exit here. And the reason we'll have to exit here is because we are seeing some things in the dollar index right now. It looks as if the dollar index might continue to sell. The dollar index might bounce, might push up into this pull back level, right? This 50% retracement level, and then sell. Now, if that happens, very likely we will see a buy in the Euro USD as well. So we are going to be cautious as to what to do around the 50% level for this impulse move here. So we can see we had a strong impulse move here. When price bumps into the 50% level here, what are we going to see? Are we going to see price coming downwards, or we're going to see price moving back up? So that's something we're going to keep an eye on there and make sure well, of course, we're also able to get in a trade here. We take profit here and we relax, right? We want to be able to see what happens around here. Are we seeing a push down? In which case we expect that price will pump into this area here, this bottom here, right? This support level here, right? In that case, that will be a good place for a buy as well, right? But then if until that happens, it will be best for us to enter a trade at this top, exit around this area, and then wait, right? So that's something we're going to keep our eyes on as well. So let's see, do we have any sort of a setup right now? I would say we should see something here. Okay, so we should see a price. We should see a trade somewhere around here. Okay. So this should be something that is good. This should be a good setup for us right here. I think this trade has started playing out already. Okay, so this should be a setup that we can easily take. Probably price is still going to come back there again. So we're going to give out this trade on the Telegram group shortly. So I'm expecting a sell from here, from around the 1.159 level, all the way to this bottom here. And then we'll exit. Like I said, we'll exit from this trade and then we'll hold on and wait for price to break this level. Once price breaks this level, then we should be able to get into more trades towards the downside. But if that doesn't happen, then of course we expect that price is going to very likely go back up. For me, I would expect price to go back up, because this is quite a very strong impulse move right here, right? Of course, but that's left to be seen. So we're going to give out these trades on the Telegram group. Please keep an eye on the Telegram group. Thank you. Okay, so what else do we have? Let's look at gold. Do we have anything for gold? Gold also had been in a downward trend for a while because the dollar index has been very strong, was strong basically throughout last week, and then we had like we said, we had a couple of positive news events that influenced the dollar positively last week. All right, so with the reversal of that trend right now, we can see gold made a huge buy as well. So this was a very good entry level for gold last week. All right, very good entry level for gold. And we see this massive buy here. Now, we see that price has hit this level. This level is an area we are watching. Okay, I am personally expecting to see some sort of a pullback on gold. Okay, let's see, what do we have here? I'm expecting to see a pullback on gold before any re-entry. Okay, so we should be seeing price. I would like to see price come through this level right here. This is a trend line here. I would expect to see price break this trend line, ideally impulsively, right? Should expect it to break this trend line, and then we should see some sort of a pullback to this fair value area here, fair value gap here, and then we should see price pushing back to around the mid level of this impulse, to around the mid-level of this impulse, somewhere around here, right? So that's what I'll be expecting to see on gold. But for now, we're not seeing that yet. Now, well, like what I usually say, this is the beginning of the week. And when market opens like this, you want to be patient as to how you approach the market before you jump into the wrong trades. For me, I will expect to see a break below this level here, break below this trend line, and then we'll be able to see some trades to the downside before gold moves up again. For me, I think that gold is going to be bullish from here, but we will need to see a pullback before we get on another trade. We'll need to see a pullback before we get on another trade. So we'll keep an eye on gold. Okay. So what other instruments can we look at? Okay, so another instrument we can look at here. Let's see if we can see any clarity on the USD JPY. Let's see, what can we see on the USD JPY? USD JPY, okay, see. Okay, so USD JPY here. Okay, so for me, we had seen we had a trade the other day where we took USD JPY and we caught a sell. We caught a sell from this level. We caught a sell from this level, all the way down to this here. And then we had caught another trade from this bottom here all the way here, right? And so now we see that price broke that level and came all the way down again. So for me, I'm thinking that price is likely going to, this impulse is quite large, and we have to have some sort of a fill up of the fair value area here. Price needs to fill this level, fill up, and then be able to get enough momentum to push to the downside again, right? So that's why I'll be expecting to see some sort of a buy on USD JPY. Right now, where should that buy be? Let's look at that. Let's see. Fibonacci will help us here to see what that will look like. Very likely, I think price is likely to get into this level here. So we should see price move from this current area into this area here, the fair value area here, and then we should see price move to the downside. This is my outlook for USD JPY. So I expect USD JPY to buy first, then sell, right? So that's what I see on USD JPY. But currently, let's see, do we have any setups? Do I have any setup? Currently, I do not see a setup at the moment. But then we'll be able to give you further updates in the group as well. When the trade setup, we'll just drop it in the group. So like I said, guys, if you're not on the Telegram group, please get on the Telegram group, because that's where we give you trades. We give you trades across instruments, Euro USD, gold, USD JPY, US oil, across currencies, commodities. We give you trades all the time, right? So please keep your eyes on the Telegram group. This is Monday. We have a whole lot of opportunities this week, and we'll be able to trade together. And also know, guys, this analysis we're doing are just ideas. They're trading ideas. They are not guarantees. So in trading, there's risk. So this me giving a disclaimer here. There's risk. Always make sure you are risking no more than 2 to 3% of your money, so that if you make a losing trade, which is normal in trading, you're able to bounce back and trade another day. Okay, it's very important to be able to do that. Make sure that you are thinking risk. Risk management is very important in trading because there are no guarantees. So make sure you're always thinking risk. Like I said, risk no more than 2 to 3% of your capital on every trade. Okay, thank you very much, guys. I will see you on the next one.